Specialty coffee is a growing trend in the coffee industry characterized by higher quality and more complex flavor profiles. Specialty coffee beans are grown and harvested with more care and attention than traditional coffee beans, resulting in a more flavorful and nuanced cup of coffee. While there are many benefits to drinking specialty coffee, there is some concern about the impact it may have on people with diabetes. Diabetes is a chronic disease that affects how your body processes blood sugar, also known as glucose. The body needs glucose as a source of energy, but when there is too much glucose in the blood, it can lead to serious health problems. There are two types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease that affects the pancreas, which produces insulin. Type 2 diabetes is caused by insulin resistance, which means the body is unable to use insulin effectively. Coffee is a popular beverage around the world, and studies have shown that it may have a positive impact on some aspects of health. Coffee is rich in antioxidants and has been linked to a reduced risk of certain diseases, such as Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, and liver disease. However, the relationship between coffee and diabetes is more complex. Is coffee good for your health? Coffee contains many chemicals that have different effects on the body, including caffeine and polyphenols. Polyphenols are molecules with antioxidant properties believed to help prevent a wide range of diseases, including type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and cancers. Antioxidants help keep the heart healthy. People with diabetes have a higher risk of developing heart disease and stroke, and eating plenty of foods that contain antioxidants may help reduce this risk. Coffee also contains the minerals magnesium and chromium. Increasing magnesium intake has been linked to lower rates of type 2 diabetes. However, coffee contains very small amounts of these nutrients. Compared with other foods, it is far from the most reliable source of these minerals. Coffee and type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is a growing problem around the world, with an estimated 463 million people affected globally. A number of studies have examined the relationship between coffee consumption and the risk of developing type 2 diabetes, with mixed results. Some studies have found that coffee consumption may reduce the risk of developing type 2 diabetes, while others have found no association between the two. A meta-analysis of 30 studies published in the British Journal of Nutrition in 2014 found that moderate coffee consumption was associated with a lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. The study found that each additional cup of coffee per day was associated with a 5-7% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. However, the study also found that high levels of coffee consumption were associated with a higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Another study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition in 2015 found that long-term coffee consumption was associated with a lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. The study followed over 95,000 women for a period of 12-20 years and found that women who drank 3 or more cups of coffee per day had a 37% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared to those who drank less than 1 cup per day. However, it is important to note that these studies are observational in nature and do not prove causation. Other factors, such as lifestyle and diet, may also play a role in the relationship between coffee consumption and type 2 diabetes. Coffee and type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is less common than type 2 diabetes and is usually diagnosed in children and young adults. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease that destroys the insulin-producing cells in the pancreas. People with type 1 diabetes must take insulin injections or use an insulin pump to regulate their blood sugar. There is less research on the relationship between coffee consumption and type 1 diabetes compared to type 2 diabetes. However, a study published in the Journal of Diabetes Research in 2015 found that coffee consumption was associated with a lower risk of developing type 1 diabetes in children. The study followed over 5,000 children for a period of 10 years and found that children who drank coffee had a 23% lower risk of developing type 1 diabetes compared to those who did not drink coffee. While this is an interesting finding, it is important to note that this study was observational and cannot prove causation. Does coffee affect blood glucose and insulin? Plain coffee does not seem to directly increase levels of blood sugar or blood glucose. This is good news for people with diabetes who like black coffee. However, some research suggests that the caffeine in coffee could impair insulin sensitivity, which is not ideal for people with diabetes. That said, other compounds in coffee, notably magnesium, chromium, and polyphenols, may play a role in improving insulin sensitivity, which may offset the effects of caffeine. Because of this, some experts suggest that people with diabetes drink decaffeinated coffee to get the benefits of components such as antioxidants and minerals without affecting insulin sensitivity. Exercise. According to a small pilot study in people with type 2 diabetes, drinking caffeine before exercising may reduce blood sugar levels. Another study in people with type 1 diabetes suggests that taking a caffeine supplement could modestly attenuate low blood sugar during exercise. However, The researchers cautioned that this could increase this risk of late-onset low blood sugar, coffee, and the possible prevention of diabetes. The health benefits of coffee for diabetes differs from case to case. Researchers at Harvard tracked over 100,000 people for about 20 years. They concentrated on a 4-year period, and their conclusions were later published in this 2014 study. They found that people who increased their coffee intake by over 1 cup per day had an 11% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. However, people who reduced their coffee intake by 1 cup per day increased their risk of developing diabetes by 17%. There was no difference in those drinking tea. It's not clear why coffee has such an impact on the development of diabetes. Think in caffeine. It may not be responsible for those good benefits. In fact, caffeine has been shown in the short term to increase both glucose and insulin levels. In one small study involving men, decaffeinated coffee even showed an acute rise in blood sugar. Right now, there are limited studies, and more research needs to be done on the effects of caffeine and diabetes. Is caffeine harmful? Caffeine is the major stimulant in coffee. It occurs naturally in coffee beans and green tea. Caffeine speeds up the central nervous system and may increase mental alertness, relieve tiredness, and improve concentration. In the general population, the Food and Drug Administration report 400 milligrams of caffeine or 4 to 5 cups of coffee per day usually have no negative effects. However, because research in people with diabetes has been mixed, it is a good idea to ask a healthcare provider about how much coffee is safe. Some people are more sensitive to the effects of caffeine than others. This is true for people with or without diabetes. Some experts suggest that decaffeinated coffee is the safest option for people with diabetes because it provides the benefits of other coffee components without the potential risks of caffeine. It is also important to note that adding sugar or creamer to coffee increases blood sugar levels. People with diabetes benefit from choosing drinks without added sugar. Some people use artificial sweeteners, but research indicates that some of these products, particularly sucralose, may affect blood sugar levels in a way that is harmful. A diabetes-friendly non-caloric sweetener such as monk fruit may be a more healthful choice when a drink needs sweetener. A person might try using a bit less each day, aiming to eventually cut out sweeteners altogether. In conclusion, the relationship between specialty coffee and diabetes is complex and multifaceted. While some studies suggest that moderate coffee consumption may have a protective effect against the development of type 2 diabetes, high levels of coffee consumption may increase the risk. Similarly, while there is some evidence to suggest that coffee consumption may be associated with a lower risk of developing type 1 diabetes in children, more research is needed in this area. It is important to note that coffee consumption should not be viewed as a standalone solution for preventing or treating diabetes. A healthy diet, regular physical activity, and other lifestyle factors are also important in managing and preventing diabetes. Overall, it is clear that coffee is a popular and enjoyable beverage that can be part of a healthy lifestyle. However, individuals with diabetes should consult with their healthcare provider to determine how much coffee, if any, is appropriate for their individual situation.
If you enjoyed this video, kindly press the like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe with notifications on, so that you don't miss out on videos like this. Thank you for watching.